Hey guys, welcome to LM Adventures. Today I'm going to be teaching you how do you know when your motor is ready and you're not going to usually break anything. So what I've done so far is I have taken this off, which is the cover. All I have to do is take off, there's a bolt back here, bolt here, and bolt here. So what I've done is taken this off. Then there is a screw right here. I've taken this out and this, which it comes to the air filter. The air filter, you've always got to make sure this is clean, or else it would not get air and it will not run right. So what I have done so far is I've gotten this. You pour gas on it. Make sure you have a bucket under you so it doesn't get on the ground or any floor. So you have that. You can either put gas in the bucket and just clean it. You don't have to scrub it or anything. You just dip it in, just keep going like this, get all the dirt off. Make sure it's good, but it doesn't have to be crystal clear, it just has to be good. So what I have done is clean this off, and second thing is you've got to make sure your spark plug is good, so you don't waste your time on why isn't this good, then you spend money and for someone to look at your motor because it's not starting. So what you always have to get, I just went to take the spark plug out and it's already loose, so next time I put that on I better make sure that it's not loose. Right now I'm using vice grips, which you should not use, but I could not find a wrench for this, so what you have to do is take this off, the spark plug. It's the cap that comes on. You just pull that off, unplug this, and this is the spark plug. It should always be clean. Doesn't have to be crystal, everything, but if it's corroded under this, this creates a spark, which ignites, basically makes the motor run. So there you will see a nub under this overhang piece of metal. If that is corroded, that is bad. So what you can do is get a wire brush and just scrape all this out, or you can get a wire brush wheel, which is basically a wire brush, but just make that come clean, put this in, make sure you have gas. So obviously make sure you have gas in your tank. Make sure that you prime it if there is a prime. Make sure that the throttle's all the way down depending on the motor you have. Make sure you don't have it all the way down, because on some motors it'll shut it off. If you have it all the way up, that'll just rev it too high. And so just have it, this is off, just have it a little bit on. So then you would have to make sure you have oil. So your oil line usually will have a meter, and this oil is good. And if your oil you'll have to check with the oil you're using to see what color it is bad. Usually, if it's dark brown, that's very bad. That means it's used so much that it's time for an oil change. So then, if that's good, you could put the spark plug back in, which you could have already done already. I'll tighten that later. And then you could make sure that air filter is clean. Just for time purposes, I'm not going to put this back on, but you would put that back on. And then you would pull it. Now, if it isn't starting, it probably won't start if you haven't used it in a long time, which if you're watching this video, most likely you haven't used it in a long time, or it's just not starting. So what what you should do is take the carburetor off, which is, I have my screwdriver right here, which is usually under the air filter near the throttle, sometimes where the throttle goes to. So there you either need a ratchet set, a wrench, or a screwdriver. In this case, I need a screwdriver or Allen keys, and you unscrew all of these bolts, and if you really can't find where the carburetor is, you can look up a diagram for your motor, usually at any website that, probably look it up on Google, whatever you have, and it should come up with a diagram of the motor. Make sure you type in everything of your motor. And so you take all of these screws out. And it should wiggle. If it doesn't wiggle, do not push it. So now you have to look at how everything's connected. Make sure you're not going to break anything. So now, make sure, make sure all of these screws are out. So guys, I have taken this carb off. So what you should do is blow through it, every single hole. Make sure they're all clear, make sure the right amount of air is coming through, make sure that when you blow through it, it goes through smoothly, it's not, and you could feel stuff in there, and just keep blowing through till it's clear. You could use the air compressor straw, put the straw at the end, blow through the hole, anything you want, your mouth. And then there's a float, and the float, it's usually 99.9% of the time, it is a black float. So when that float goes up, it pushes the pin down and closes the valve. So that's when you know you have enough gas. That's when the motor knows it has enough gas, and the pin pushes down, and that's closing a valve. When it goes down, the pin pushes up, and it opens the valve to let gas through, so that's when it knows it doesn't have enough gas, so it's open. So what you do, there's a pin right on the side, floats here, there's a pin right here that holds the pin onto the angle thing. So you take that out, and then in the middle would be a little, almost looks like a little piece of metal. It's tubular, and you take that out, make sure that's clean. Make sure there's no stuff on it. Make sure around the sides of that pin looking thing, not the thing that you put the float in, it's the one under it. Make sure around all the edges are clean. Get a rag or a shirt or anything and just go like this with it, and just make sure all the sides are clean. And then what you would do is put that back in and go over it, make sure all the holes are clear. You know that if that float, you push it down and it should spring back up. Now if it doesn't, that's when you know either the pin is bad or you didn't clean it enough. So you take that back out. I would not recommend sanding it, because that's when you really shouldn't sand it, because it'll just wear it down, then it'll just spring up like freely, and then your motor, it'll just go too freely, and then your motor's going to get too much gas and you're going to flood the motor. So what you want to do, if you are going to sand it, just get a new one. So just keep scrubbing it with the rag. So you put that back in, the float's good, then you know to put that carburetor back on. And if you try to start it, obviously there's no gas in the carburetor, so it still needs to pump through. So what you need to do is you have to just keep pulling it, because it's not going to go. It takes time for this fuel to go from here all the way through the lines and into the carburetor here. So just if you're thinking you put at least 5 pulls in it, it always starts right up the last time you used it, that's because there's not enough fuel in it because it just started coming here. So after it goes there, it goes into the cylinders. The spark plug that I showed you, the spark plug sparks it, and the pistons now, after that's what really makes whatever the motor is doing spin. Now I showed you how to get it ready for this. Now let's start it. As you can see, I bolted this down to here. I bolted it down, and since it's not level, I put this piece of wood under here to make it level. So now, let's start it. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. See you next time.